In today's transfer targets video, we're going to be taking a look at the best Aston Villa assets. We're also going to talk about blank game week 29 and the best Bournemouth assets to go and buy ahead of their fantastic run and double in game week 28. Before we dive into today's video, I just want to say that we're trying to hit 5,000 subscribers by the end of the season on the channel. If you want to help me hit that goal, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Obviously, subscribe being the main one, as that will help us achieve our goal. Before we get into talking about players, I wanted to talk about blank game week 29. It's on a lot of people's thoughts at the moment, and it does play a big part in this week's kind of transfer plans for a lot of people. Now, I'm going to put this out as a warning. Do not, and I mean this, do not make your transfers before at least Thursday, because we are going to find out which teams are going to be playing in blank game week 29 and which ones are not going to have a fixture. Now, obviously, this is all dependent on FA Cup fixtures. Those games do take place in midweek, so from Monday to Wednesday, as you can see, the teams in the bottom right of this graphic do play in the FA Cup. Obviously, we're concerned with the Premier League ones: Bournemouth, Leicester, Newcastle, Blackburn, Luton City, Chelsea, Leeds, Wolves, Brighton, Nottingham Forest, Manchester United, and of course Liverpool versus Southampton. Now, currently we do only have 3 fixtures taking place in blank game week 29. That is West Ham versus Aston Villa, Fulham versus Tottenham, and then obviously Burnley versus Brentford. But after these FA Cup games have taken place, we might have at least, I'd say, another 2 potentially to add to the roster. So obviously this is going to impact people's transfer plans and potential chip strategies as well, because if certain teams do obviously progress in the FA Cup or fall out, then, you know, maybe very easily could be looking at a free hit in game week 29. Or if certain teams do fall out, I'm looking at that Chelsea fixture. I'm currently sat on triple Arsenal. I think that would mean that I'm definitely not going to be, you know, going for that free hit chip. I'm on triple Arsenal. I think I could get away with it. I've got Ollie Watkins. I've got Jared Bowen. I've got Areola. I've got a Burnley player. I'm going to go and get Son this week as well. So looking at it, I think I could very easily, you know, the next few weeks build into that, save my wild card, free hit for a few double game weeks down the line, because Chelsea do play Leeds. Leeds just beat Leicester top of the league. They're in really, really good form at the moment. So absolutely anything could happen in that game. So I just wanted to point this out before we dive in and take a look at any players. Do obviously just wait, be precautious, be kind of, you know, pragmatic with your transfer planning, but don't go and bring anyone in before these FA Cup fixtures take place, because it is going to have a massive knock-on for the next few weeks and for your potential chip strategy. Aston Villa won in the end quite comfortably against Nottingham Forest, and with them not blanking in game week 29 as we saw in the last section, they have been put onto a lot of people's radars. All their players, Douglas Luiz especially after today's brace, Leon Bailey picking up a goal and an assist, same with Watkins as well. They are going to be on a lot of people's transfer radars. Luton in game week 27 as well, Wolves in game week 30, pretty good fixture in 29 as well. I think if you're not on the free hit in 29, I think Villa assets definitely should be on your radar. Let's start off with Ollie Watkins. If you don't own him, go and get him. I think he is absolutely essential at the moment. He is killing the game, absolutely slapping it for Aston Villa as well. 4 goals, 5 assists for him over the past 5 game weeks. Really good goal involvement, and offers himself up as a potential captaincy option in that blank game week. Still only 52.9% owned, so there's still going to be some sort of rank you can potentially get out of him. And if you don't have him, he is probably absolutely killing your rank over the past few weeks, because like I said, he has been killing it. And with the fixtures coming up, offers himself up as a potential captaincy option with Luton away next week. Now, obviously, we've seen that in the past few weeks that that's always not the best case going for Luton away. It doesn't always kind of pay off or be very fruitful, but I think the way that Villa are playing, the way that Watkins is playing at the moment, the form that he's in, he definitely does offer himself up as a captaincy option in 27, and obviously in game week 29, that blank game week where the fixtures are looking a little bit sparse, and you do feel with the form that Villa are in and the form that Watkins is in, he could offer himself up as a captaincy option. So if you're on the lookout for a striker replacement, or, you know, maybe a little bit unsure about your strikers you've currently got, I think Ollie Watkins would be the go-to man. Moving on on to Douglas Luiz. Now, I've been so adamant against this man all season. Of course, he goes and pops up with a brace today, doesn't he? 33 points for him over the past 5 game weeks. And I think the thing with Douglas Luiz is, if you're not on that free hit, I think he is just an okay player to go and get. 5.5 million. He does pop up with the odd goal. Obviously, he's got penalties as well. It's always a great thing to have. You know, like we spoke about, Villa's fixtures are pretty good over this time period as well. Only 10.3% owned, and at 5.5 million, he's not too expensive. Like, he's not going to cause you lots of issues. Maybe if you sat on maybe like someone like Cole Palmer, you're not feeling him, maybe you want to get someone in for that 29, then I definitely think Douglas Luiz could be the one. Obviously, United play Manchester City, then they've got a positive fixture, then a blank in game week 29 at the time of recording, so maybe Garnacho is one who could make way for Luiz. Like I said, if you're trying to load up and try and get as many assets in before that blank game week, then Douglas Luiz again for 5.5 million. I don't think he's like, you know, I wouldn't be expecting him to get braces every single week, but he's pretty consistent with his minutes, on penalties as well, takes some set pieces, and just does pop up with the odd goal or assist. So for 5.5 million, I don't actually think you could go wrong with this one, to be honest. Moving on to a man who, I think if I had to pick between Bailey and Luiz, I would pick Luiz. I feel his minutes are just a little bit more assured. I think he's played about 100 odd minutes more than Leon Bailey over the past 5 game weeks. But as you can see, Bailey has been cooking. 2 goals, 3 assists for him. Good underlying data. My only concern is obviously the Europa Conference League. Aston Villa did draw Ajax, if you missed that. A really, really difficult time for them. So how is that going to impact potentially other players' minutes, like the Watkins, like the Luiz, like the Bailey? I feel those first two, they're probably going to play the majority of the Premier League games, whereas Leon Bailey, I feel, is a little bit more flexible. We've already seen it with his minutes. He is playing less minutes than other midfielders in that team. His per 90 data is absolutely excellent, so if you do feel maybe just going for a little bit of a risk, taking a little bit of a gamble on a player who might not start every single game, but is still putting in the goals and assists, Leon Bailey could be a man. But if you're looking for that player, I think, who does have the probability of playing more minutes over the season, it is, of course, going to be Douglas Luiz. But all of these guys are really good assets to go and get in for the next few weeks, especially with that blank coming up. Luton away next week as well. Watkins would be my preferred choice if you don't have any Villa assets. Then Luiz, then Bailey. Obviously, there is quite a big absence of defenders on this list. For me personally, with the injury to Pau Torres, I don't think any of them are worth touching. We saw what happened with Moreno today. Picked up a yellow card and then came off in the 59th minute for Luka Din. You feel as well with Europa Conference League around the corner, there's going to be even more rotation between those two as well. Konza's out injured, Diego Carlos is out injured, now Pau Torres has picked up an injury, so it only really leaves Lenglet left. Yeah, he's a bit mid, and I don't think I'd really fancy it. And Villa, since the defensive injuries as well, have started conceding more opportunities in terms of XG conceded, and have just conceded more goals in general as well. So I think the Villa defenders are a little bit of a miss for me, but the Villa midfielders and strikers, they're definitely some areas I would be looking to invest in. With Bournemouth's double game week coming up around the corner in game week 28, obviously we do have to go and take a look at their assets. They have the best fixtures coming up until game week 32. In game week 27 as well, they do take on Burnley, one of the worst teams in the league right now. I've identified 3 assets I think you need to go and potentially take a look at for your team. Obviously, Dominic Solanke is going to be the popular one. He is going to be the most captain player in game week 28 when that double does occur for Bournemouth. Arguably, some people as well have saved that triple captainship for him. And you know what? With Haaland only getting the goal and 2 bonus, there's some potential there for Dominic Solanke to go and slap. I do think as well, if you still are holding on to that triple captainship, he is probably the man to go and play it. Sheffield United and Luton is an absolutely stellar double for a player, as you can see, over the past 5 game weeks, not getting as many goals as he probably should have done. The data suggesting that he's going to get 4.57 expected goal involvement. He's only got 4, so, you know, there's a little bit of improvement on penalties as well. He is Bournemouth's key man. Obviously, they are now 7 without a win, but I wouldn't worry too much about that because the fixtures that they've got coming up, I do think they'll get kind of back to winning ways, especially against Burnley. They are absolutely tin pot. Looked woeful against Crystal Palace today, so I definitely expect Dominic Solanke to be a very popular pick in this week. Obviously, we're going to speak about Julian Alvarez a little bit later. I think if you have him, Dominic Solanke is probably the perfect suggestion. Also, if you maybe still have Darwin Núñez, I think, like I said, Dominic Solanke is going to be the #1 pick from Bournemouth. If you have to get any player for that double game week and for the fixture this week, I probably would suggest, if you need a forward, go and get Dominic Solanke. The player that I brought in this week is Senesi, and you know what? He only got me 1 point, but I wasn't expecting too much against Manchester City. He's in here because, like I said, the long-term fixtures for Bournemouth are absolutely incredible. Like I said, the double as well, you would expect him to get at least 1 clean sheet. Has popped up with 3 goals so far this season. And you know what? He probably is just going to play most weeks as well. He's very easy, very settled within that side. There's still the probability as well that Bournemouth could feature in blank game week 29 as well. So that obviously, you know, was kind of in my decision making as well. I think for me, he is my second favourite asset to go for. 4.5 million, pops up with the old goal, maybe along this good fixture run, could see himself get himself on the score sheet. You would expect Bournemouth to pick up a few clean sheets as well along the way. So any Bournemouth cheap defenders, maybe Neto in goal as well if you are needing a goalkeeper, could be a good option. But Solanke would be my first. Senesi or any other defender that plays pretty consistent minutes would be my second. In terms of a third pick, I got asked about Tavernier, Kluivert, all these other players, Semenyo as well in my deadline stream today. I don't think I'd honestly go for either of them. I've got Tavernier's stats up here. As you can see, good underlying data, but no kind of real attacking output. And for 5.4 million, I do feel there are better players in the game right now who are putting up better scores than this. If I had Cole Palmer, I probably would just stick with him. I think he's a much more better asset. Even though he doesn't have the double and blank, I'm still expecting him to go and outscore Tavernier. So I definitely don't think he's a player I would be looking, or any other Bournemouth players for that kind of matter. I think it's Dominic Solanke, #1 pick. Then any defender that plays pretty regular minutes. Outside of that, I probably wouldn't recommend investing in any other Bournemouth players. And finishing up today's video, I thought we would talk about Manchester City assets. A lot of us are sat on triple, maybe even double, maybe just a singular player, and what we are going to do with their fixtures taking a right turn over the next few weeks. Manchester United next week at home, the derby, that game could go either way. You know, United's form has tailed off, obviously, with that defeat to Fulham today, but you would still expect them to put in a strong performance in a derby game. Like I said, that one could go either way. Liverpool away, extremely difficult fixture. Then they blank in game week 29 at the moment. That's where the Brighton game is. Then Arsenal, then Aston Villa. Two teams who are in stellar form at the moment. So a really, really difficult run. And like I said, a lot of us are sat on potentially double or even triple up on the City assets. I think Haaland stays. I know he only played 75 minutes today and only got an assist, but I think he can obviously stay throughout this fixtures. There is the argument that you potentially could go without him in double game week 28. Maybe if you can't get Solanke very easy, that could be a move there that you could go and replace Erling Haaland if you are thinking about wildcarding in 30. That could be a potential strategy. But every other player on this list or on the screen right now, I think maybe could be coming out of your teams this week. Obviously KDB benched, then picking up a yellow card as well, so he finished with 0 points. Looks like he's struggling with a recurring kind of injury. I think that is going to concern Pep, especially with Champions League football coming up back around the corner. There's probably going to be a lot of heavy rotation. I think for the price point as well, there's a very easy move to go and get Son. He plays in blank game week 29 and has good fixtures leading up to that as well. So very, very easy swap there to go and get one of the best finishers in the Premier League, to go and get Son as well. Absolutely incredible. So if you've got KDB, I would recommend just switching him out for Son. That would be my preferred pick. Foden's a little bit more of a difficult one. He's obviously scored, and it does seem like he is a little bit more prone to playing minutes rather than some of these other assets. But I think with the fixture congestion coming up, I do think after the United game, I'm probably looking to go and sell him. Maybe for Son, maybe for another asset. I don't know. It depends, obviously, what happens with the FA Cup fixtures. But for me, I think if I had Foden, I'd probably hold him for the United game. After that, like I said, I probably would be looking to sell him. Julian Alvarez fits in the same boat as KDB. I think for me, he's a very easy sell this week, especially with other forwards popping up, scoring goals. Dominic Solanke as well with the positive fixtures for him. Ollie Watkins absolutely smashing it out of the park. Ivan Toney with a game in blank game week 29 as well. There's plenty of good options to go for. Even Carlton Morris after this week, they've obviously got the double in 28. Plenty of quality forward options to potentially go and replace Julian Alvarez with for me. So like I said, Foden would probably be the one that I would keep this week. If I had any City defenders as well, I probably would be, maybe looking looking elsewhere at potentially replacing some of those guys. I know a lot of people got Walker, Akanji, Aki, some players like that, so I potentially would be looking to replace some of those. Those were the transfer targets for today's video. If you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments, as we will try to answer every single one. And like I said at the top of the video, we are trying to hit 5,000 subscribers, so if you do enjoy any of the content that you see, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. But thank you very much for watching today, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck this game week.